Hello, everybody, and welcome to another story time brought to you by ABC Read, which is our nonprofit organization in which we are here to help develop and nurture a culture of literacy in the Black community, and ABC Learn Tutoring, which is my reading tutoring business. I am a reading tutor for pre-K through 4th grade. And yes, I do tutor remotely, online, virtually, whatever you want to call it. So I can tutor kids who are in Africa, Australia, Germany, wherever around the globe, all right? And I hope that you all are doing absolutely fantastic, splendid, fabulous, and all of that great stuff. And I hope that you all have read, or your plan is definitely to read for at least 30 minutes. And if this is your first time, I welcome you. My name is Seisha. All right. And as you will see, you see on my YouTube channel, for those of you who have subscribed already, I thank you so much. I am just so humbled by the subscribers that we have now. We have 410, I believe. We might got a couple more. And I thank each and every one of you for subscribing. Obviously, when you subscribe to a channel, you see there's some benefit there. That's what made you say, you know what, I'm going to click on that subscribe button so that anytime they upload a video, I am going to be the first one to get that video, all right? And of course, hit that notification bell as well, all right? And what we do here is read, talk about reading, talk about the benefits of reading, talk about how beneficial and crucial it is for our Black families to make sure that we put reading back high on our value ladders, all right? I want us to have more books in our homes than we do our favorite shoes, okay? We gotta have more books than we got the shoes. We gotta have more books than the TVs, than all of the tablets and phones and screens and all of that type of stuff. We have to have more books in our presence, all right? I would love to see homes that have like just a massive library in them, all right? It's just so awesome to see, you know, their library, their bookshelf, bookcase, and it's just full of books, man. That is awesome, because it just takes me back to, you know, our ancestors and how our ancestors who were in Alexandria, Egypt, and how they were known for the massive libraries, and the library that was known in Cordoba, Spain, all right? And then of course you have the Timbuktu, okay? You had the library in Timbuktu, okay? You know, that right there, you know, that was, you know, the foundation, all right? You know, our folks, you know, when I say our folks, I'm talking about in particular Black people, you know, because when you see the statistics about how Black children aren't reading proficiently, and, you know, and how you have in the Black community high levels of functional illiteracy, all right? So that means that a person who's functionally, you know, illiterate, all right, that means that they can like do basic little stuff, you know, they can kind of barely, you know, get by with like reading little things, you know, but it's a struggle for them, you know, to even fill out an application. So they need to fill out an application for a job, or fill out an application to apply to start their business, to get you know, a business license or something like that. You have to have the reading skills for that, all right? And as we know, with reading, it's more than just reading the words. We have to be able to understand what we're reading. And you also have to be able to do things like reading in between the lines, all right? Because sometimes you'll be reading something and, you know, the message that they are sending, if you don't understand, you know, the different things about, you know, reading in between the lines, you won't get it. And a lot of stuff will just go over your head and you'll just miss it, okay? So that's why, but in order for you to increase those critical thinking skills and problem solving skills like that, you have to do a lot of reading, okay? So with all of that being said, guess what I'm gonna do? Of course you know already. I'm gonna read to y'all, all right? And I got this fabulous book, right? Yeah, bam! The Secret Garden of George Washington Carver. written by Jean Beretta, illustrated by Frank Morrison. Okay, as you guys can see, I know I got my virtual background of something like kind of blending in with it. Because I want trying to be jazzy when I had a virtual background. I see I'm like getting lost all up, but that's all right. We're gonna keep it rolling, keep it popping. All right. Yeah, George Washington Carver, y'all. George Washington Carver. That's right, the phenomenal Black scientist. Okay. All right, that man right there. Oh my goodness, man. I mean, you talk about just phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Okay, you know, when you think of brilliance, when you think of somebody who cared about God's green earth, he cared about the plants, he cared about the crops, he took care of them just like how a mother would take care of a newborn baby. That's how he was when it came to planting, you know, the different crops that he did plant. And then as you will learn in the book, you will see the different things that, you know, when he had planted and how he made many things from that one particular crop. All right. See if you guys can guess what that crop was. All right. Because they're going to talk about it here in this book. So I'm about to go on and get started, y'all. Let's do this. The Secret Garden of George Washington Carver. Washington, D.C., 1921. George Washington Carver addresses the U.S. Congress. "We are just beginning to learn the value of the peanut," Carver told the congressman. Some of them laughed. One man made a racist remark. As a Black man speaking to a room of all white representatives, Carver was not among friends. African Americans were still segregated by U.S. federal law and treated as second-class citizens. Carver had been given only 10 minutes to speak. He gave the audience 10 minutes they would never forget. Carver showed them how peanuts could be used to make dozens of items, including face cream, soaps, ink, cheese, instant coffee, paper, paints, glue, and much more. When his time was up, they were impressed. The chairman encouraged him to continue. "Go ahead, brother, your time is unlimited." Carver spoke for over an hour. From the time he was a boy, he had a deep desire to share what he knew. So then, why did he once have a secret garden? Diamond Grove, Missouri, 1874. No one knew about the garden Jordan kept hidden on the Carver farm. No one saw how the child cared for his flowers and how much he loved them. When he watered the clovers, their petals curved up like a smile. The black-eyed Susans winked when he patted the soil around their roots. He sang to the dandelions and they waved to him with their long leaves. People used to tell him that growing flowers was a foolish waste of time. "Why don't you grow something you can eat?" neighbor said. "You can't make any money selling flowers," said his brother James. "They're only good for attracting bees." "Don't let flowers take you away from your chores," warned Moses and Susan Carver. George was born in 1864. Like his mother and his brother, he was enslaved on the Carver farm. While still a baby, George and his mother were kidnapped. Days later, he was found close to death and brought back to the Carvers. His mother was never seen again. The next year, slavery was outlawed in the United States. Moses and Susan Carver did not have children of their own and raised George and his brother on the farm. George was a sickly child, which meant less time working and more time exploring. He filled the house with a steady stream of interesting plants and rocks. Susan taught him how to be creative with the little they had. Nothing was wasted. Turkey feathers were used to make sewing needles. They made dyes from nuts and berries. They used plants and leaves for medicine. Every day he ran into the woods to discover something new. I want to know the name of every stone and flower and insect and bird and beast, he said. Education was limited at home. George had only one book, which he read dozens of times. I know this book by heart, he told Susan. I wish I could go to school with the white children. Slavery had ended, but U.S. segregation laws still denied Black people the same rights as whites. George decided to create his own classroom in the woods and study the subject he loved most, nature. And no matter how much people discouraged him, he wanted to grow flowers. George decided to grow them in a secret garden so no one can find them or tease him. It became a magical place for him. Tiny seeds went into the dirt and transformed into beautiful flowers. In his mind, the garden was a true gift from God, whom he called the Great Creator. Each day, George rolled the soil between his fingers to make sure it wasn't too wet or too dry. Some plants needed more rain and some needed more sun. Come here. You need a haircut, George said as he cradled a daisy in his hand and clipped off its dry petals. He spread them around the soil to help the flowers grow. At first, the gardening was difficult because he couldn't ask for help and reveal his secret. The more he experimented, the more he learned. George studied each new season by painting the life cycles of the flowers. Berries were used to make paints. Twigs and grass were used to make brushes. He learned how to protect the roots through the winter so flowers could be reborn in the spring. "Welcome back," he whispered to the tiny sprouts. It was a special garden and could have remained secret forever. But eventually, the young boy's generosity changed that. When George met a neighbor with a sick plant or flower, he offered to care for it. Part of his garden became a plant hospital. Wilting plants went in and blooming plants came out. No one could believe that such a small child had so many big ideas. "Here comes the plant doctor," they say whenever he paid a visit. "Think of all the people I can help," he told the garden. It inspired him to see their flowers growing side by side with his flowers. George breathed a sigh of relief. Whew, there's no need to be secret anymore. George knew there was so much to see and learn away from the farm. At the age of 12, he said goodbye to his garden and set off on his own for a new adventure. In Neosho, Missouri, he lived with Mariah Watkins, who gave him advice he carried into adulthood. "Learn all you can, George, then give it all back to our people." Over the next 18 years, he lived in several states and attended many schools to study art and agriculture. It was not easy. After being accepted to Highland College in 1885, the all-white school refused to admit him when they learned he was African American. But the young man was determined to get an education. In 1896, George Washington Carver became the first Black man to study at, graduate from, and teach at Iowa Agricultural College. The same year, Booker T. Washington, president of the Tuskegee Institute, hired him to teach agriculture. When Carver first arrived, he said, "Everything looked hungry. The land, the cotton, the cattle, the people. Farmers were in trouble. Cotton crops were destroying their land. With little money and a second-rate equipment, Carver built Tuskegee's first farming laboratory. He experimented with new crops to replace cotton, like sweet potatoes and soybeans. But the peanut was his champion. It had nutrients to nourish and refresh the soil. He convinced farmers to grow peanuts and then developed over 300 uses for them. It wasn't long before peanuts became the largest crop in the South. Carver also created a traveling schoolhouse called the Jessup Agricultural Wagon. to visit poor farmers. It offered everything from tool demonstrations to medical care to pamphlets on how to improve farms and live healthier. In its first summer, the wagon visited over 6,000 people. Carver's advice saved countless farms and families. What would you like to learn today? He asked a farmer. The best time to plow or how to raise a strong cow? Wherever he traveled, people went to hear him speak. After his historic day in front of the U.S. Congress, he became a living folk hero. He was also recognized as an early environmentalist, a voice for racial harmony, and an advisor to world leaders. With his new fame came many awards and honors, yet he remained a humble man, always ready to serve humanity. Since his days on the Carver farm, one thing never changed. Day after day, I spent in the woods alone in order to collect my floral beauties and put them in my little garden I had hidden in the brush not far from the house. Regard nature, revere nature, respect nature. The end. And in the back right here, it has a timeline. All right. And the timeline basically, what it does is just shows when he was born. And then it talks about when slavery was supposedly outlawed. And then, goes through when he was sick and when he lived with the Carvers. And pretty much, what you all learned throughout the story. Okay, so that's when that's what the timeline talks about. And there you have it. The awesome, phenomenal George Washington Carver. All right. This is a man who, he was definitely about taking care of God's green earth, because he understood that when you take care of the earth will give back to you many fold, meaning that the earth will give you all the nutrients that you need. So you make sure that soil is good and you make sure that you are taking care of those plants, then we're able to eat those nice green vegetables and purple vegetables and orange vegetables and fruits and all of that great stuff, right? And we definitely appreciate our dear brother, George Washington Carver. And I hope that you all appreciated this read aloud. I hope that you all gained a lot. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope it also, too, made you want to even go do some more research on George Washington Carver. And I'm also going to dedicate this read aloud to a group of phenomenal, brilliant Black children that I was able to read this story to a couple of weeks ago in a local urban farm that we have here in Cleveland, Ohio. League Park is the name of that urban farm, ran by Mrs. Veronica Walton and her husband, Mr. Michael Walton. And I was so deeply, deeply honored and humbled to be able to read to the young children. They were between the ages of 5 and 8 years old. And they were led by a phenomenal woman named Miss Yolanda. We appreciated her so much. And the children, they absolutely loved this story. And I told them that I will make sure that when I read this book on YouTube, that they will be able to look at this read aloud as many times as they want to. All right. So with that being said, you guys, I'm out of here. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please do that. Make sure that you give me some likes and make sure that you share this video. All right. And please, please make sure that you are getting your reading in and reading to your babies. All right. Grandbabies, nieces, nephews. All right. And remember to please keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day. And you all take care. Peace.